Doesn't matter if Jill, a journalist from CNN, got lied to and abused and she's filled with resentment and rage because she's been had. Doesn't care. I'll still vote for the dude, even if he lied to my face. It's crazy, these people. And she admits it. Joe Biden unexpectedly joined a Zoom call with the DNC staff on Wednesday. Showed up there. Just hang on. They're like, President, the mic's off. He's talking. Your mic is off, Mr. President. Someone tell him your mic is off. Oh, sorry about that.
But fair or not, the American people believe that President Biden is older than the Adirondack Mountains. They think that he's worse than he used to be.
Karine and the White House lied about Joe Biden's medical condition. They said that he didn't see anybody after the debate to give him an evaluation to determine whether his brain malfunctioned or something actually serious happened to him. In his head, as we all saw, he did not do so well in front of America during a critical moment in the 2024 election campaign. But now we know that he did in fact see a doctor, and there was a back and forth on this. In fact, the media was digging in with very specific questions. They wanted to know whether or not he got a checkup. And so this just dropped from Eli Stokols. Here's the news. He writes to us that when a governor asked the president tonight, which was previously, about how he's feeling, the president told the governors that he had just gotten a checkup and he's fine. I know, I just saw a doctor. It's all fine. I'm not failing. There's no stroke in my brain. I'm good. Per 3 people familiar with the meeting, and they've got knowledge of the meeting. So Joe told someone else, a governor, 3 people with knowledge of the meeting confirmed. He had a brief exam days after the debate because of his cold. So they're telling us that he was not feeling well and he did get a checkup, but that's not what Karine said, right? So here is the report over from this woman, MJ Lee. So here was the first in time. Karine was asked, are you hiding any information about the president's health? Are you telling us the truth? Is anything off with him? Anything that would preclude his ability to do his job? Karine says, absolutely not. We're being honest with you.
Is anyone in the White House hiding information about the president's health or his ability to do the job day to day?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. It's all true. Everything we're telling you is honest. Now, this is curious because here you see Eli Stokols told us, no, he actually did have a checkup. He is fine. Someone did look at him and there's no concerns. But watch this. This is from MJ Lee. She says, well, I had to confirm this because Eli says you did have a meeting with someone since the governor said that. So then she called, like a good journo. MJ Lee calls over to the White House, talks to Andrew Bates. White House spokesman Andrew Bates confirms that Biden was examined. Hey, wait a minute. Hey, I asked Karine. She said not examined. Biden told the governors he was examined. So what's going on? Was he examined or not? Bates says, yeah, he was. In the days following last week's debate to check on his cold and was recovering well. And so this week, on Tuesday and Wednesday, we had those 2 comments from Karine. So on Tuesday was her first time back. So that was comment we just watched. Unless the checkup happened after that, she didn't disclose that on that day. Now, also on this day, this is at 2:18 Eastern time, and I believe this was Wednesday. And so she says, I asked the White House press secretary yesterday, MJ Lee, who says on July 4th, she asked her on July 3rd. So the doctor's appointment has already happened. So why did Karine answer that question this way yesterday after the doctor's appointment has happened? Why did she answer it like this?
I wanted to clarify one thing. I know you got a lot of questions about this issue yesterday. Has the president had any medical exams since his last annual physical in February?
We're able to talk to his doctor about that, and that is a no.
He hasn't had any kind of medical exam?
No.
Okay, no, hasn't had any. But Andrew Bates, okay, MJ Lee says, that's not right. Hello, he did. He was examined. She says he was examined by his doctor in the days following last week's debate. And it wasn't like an off-the-cuff remark. I don't think so. I've been following. No, I checked and he didn't. So it's just a lie is all it is. And that's all these people do is just lie. And then they get their story straight and then they start coming back out actually admitting. It makes sense. If he was sick with a cold, why wouldn't he have a doctor? So it's another lie from the White House. Karine's a liar. We all know that. But they actually like to get lied to. So let me share this. This is a wild one from this woman. She's over from CNN. This stuff will make your brain twist into a pretzel if you try to adhere to their logic, but it's wild. This woman's name is Jill Filipovic. Says she's a writer, she's an author, she's a CNN columnist, and she's a recovering lawyer. Great. And so she writes about women's rights, politics, and foreign affairs. Got it. So Jill calls herself a journalist. You can see here she's in Hong Kong, New York. She calls herself a journalist, all right? So you would expect a journalist to have some opinions, of course, but you'd actually want them to probably, unless they're propagandists, you probably want them to be in pursuit of some sort of truth. I'm not a journalist or ever go to journalism school or anything like that, but I think everybody's ideally in the pursuit of some sort of truth, trying to be objective in some shape or form. And so here is what she says, and this is a wild thing to even admit. She wrote, "At some point, I'll write longer on this, I hope. But I think part of the reason that the Biden must go story has been so huge is that a lot of commentators like her, voters, even members of the press, like even us, like they lied to us. Oh my gosh. We feel angry and betrayed." Could you imagine that? Feeling betrayed by somebody. All right. Now, many of us largely trusted Biden's team, which is also an insane thing to admit. If you're a journalist and you work for CNN, why would you just trust anybody? Why would you just trust their team? Says the debate made very clear that he's not fine, as did all the other evidence up until this point. If you didn't trust them, you would have known that. But initially, she says, "I think many of us felt some combo of pity for Biden and a fear for the future. Now I think there's a rising resentment at being had." So she got lied to, she got betrayed, she's angry, they were gaslit, all of it, right? It's pretty bad. But is that going to change anything? Let's see. Now, to be clear, the Biden team could fully weekend at Bernie's him, meaning he's a dead corpse walking around, or they could send 3 toddlers in a trench coat to the next debate, doesn't care. And I would still vote for Biden over Trump. And I know she's being facetious, but also not. And I will encourage everyone to do the same, okay? Doesn't matter if Jill, a journalist from CNN, got lied to and abused and she's filled with resentment and rage because she's been had. Doesn't care. I'll still vote for the dude, even if he lied to my face. It's crazy, these people. And she admits it in open. And journalists have very much looked into the question of how Biden's age is impacting on his abilities and reported on how voters are worried about it. They've been accused of making it up a non-issue, of being ableist, of facilitating a Trump win, and so on, yeah? Your people have said, how dare you even question it? And in the meantime, Biden's team has made him available for fewer interviews even than since Reagan. I do think some journalists have learned the lessons of the "but her emails" disaster. Okay, so the journos, I guess, did their due diligence on Hillary, and then that made it hard for her to win. And so they've tried to moderate on the age question, but looking more deeply at the existential threat that Trump poses, right? So she will literally just have her own entire existence ridiculed by the oppositional party. You're just a non-thinking robot automaton NPC who will just do whatever we tell you to do because you can't break free of our grasp. But now that the age issue is fully in the open and undeniable. So what's going to change? Jill? Nothing at all. She's still going to vote for him, and she's still going to believe all of the other lies. And so I replied to her at some point over there, and I said, what else did they lie to you about, Jill? You want to talk about those things too? One person who is filled with those is Anthony Fauci, and of course, he's also coming out. They just dragged him out. Hey, trust the science, okay? He's smarter than you are. Don't argue with the science. He's done his full analysis onto Joe, and Fauci says he's totally fine, totally competent, just a bad night. Trust the science. You're not medical experts out there. He is. He's a debateologist from the government.
Like a bad night, because my interaction with him was what I described in the book, and what happened even subsequent to what I described in the book after I got out. You know, he's very probing in his questions, very analytical, very calm about things. When you go in to brief him, Major, you better really know your topic, because he's going to ask you very relevant questions, and he's very reflective on things and doesn't jump out with conclusions or anything, but is very analytic. So my interactions with him, I have to say, have been very, very positive.
Did you see the debate?
I did.
Did anything about that, what you saw, medically alarm you?
You know, I can't say. I think it would be inappropriate to say that, Major, because when you're just looking at someone on a one-shot basis, you just don't know what could happen.
One
Did he have
shot?
a bad cold? You know, did he take an antihistamine to make him, you know, groggy or what have you? We don't know what went on. And I think it would be unfair and inappropriate to try and diagnose something from just a 90-minute clip.
Yeah, it would be. So there's Fauci, who's just sharing his expert opinion. He's got a great track record, by the way, as you know. So now Joe Biden is having to fix his bad night, as Fauci said in his medical diagnosis. And so he's going to go hang out with an ex-Biden guy called George Stephanopolous. So the president's poor performance has garnered calls from him to drop out. Now Biden is going to speak to Good Morning America and This Week anchor George Stephanopolous for the interview. So the first look is going to air Friday, tomorrow, July 5th. Going to air in its entirety on July July 5th on Friday. Now, the interview and additional analysis will air again on Sunday, July 7th for this week. And so that's going to be the interview. Now, again, questions about, are there going to be 35 different camera angles? Are we going to get a full unredacted transcript? Are they going to edit everything out with a bunch of voiceovers? George Stephanopolous walking us through his history as a boy in Delaware and all that crap. So we'll see. Now, Karine got asked about this, and she says, yeah, we know these are pretty important interviews that are coming up. These days ahead are critical. The media is wondering if they're taking it as seriously as the rest of everyone else. Karine says they certainly are.
Do you think the president feels like the coming days are very critical for him as he, you laid out all these events that he's going to be doing?
Yeah.
Are these events very important for him to show to the American people that he still has the ability to be the nominee?
I would say that this moment is critical regardless of the debate or not. We are living in an important moment right now. Everything is at stake. And I got to be mindful because this is all connected to what's happening in November. And I think any leader would say they always have to prove to themselves, to their constituents, right? It is a day in and day out work. And yes, the president's going to have engagement. He's going to be out there speaking to the American people. Obviously, we mentioned Wisconsin. He's going to do an interview in Wisconsin as well. We talked about Pennsylvania. But the president was also out last week. Atlanta, North Carolina, New York, where he saw supporters. This is a president that has been consistently out there talking directly to the American people. He understands, as you all asked me about the economy and what people are feeling, he understands that they have to hear directly from him, and he has to continue to do that so that he can lay out his agenda. He can lay out what he wants to continue to do. It's always going to be part of, the calculation, right? To continue to prove to the American people that he can continue to do the work and deliver on behalf of the American people.
And Jeff had the staff meeting today. Can you just give us a rundown of really what he tried to get across? And is there a morale issue in the White House right now?
It's a fair question. And I do have a couple of things I want to say. As you just said, the Chief of Staff, Jeff Zients, did have all staff call. He wanted to gather the team across the building and acknowledge what the president said himself, right? That the last few days have been challenging. We've been very, very clear in acknowledging that. But we have had an extraordinary record to be proud of, and we know we have more work to do. The president says that all the time. He conveyed the importance of executing on our mission. He talked about the importance of coming together as a team and also having each other's backs. And so, look, he also said, which I think was really important, and I think every staff wants to hear, that the Chief of Staff door is open and is open to hearing directly from them any questions or any concerns. And, I think that's what you do as a leader.
That's that strange corporate line. You can always come talk to me. It's an open door policy, even though no one actually comes in and uses that door because they know that if they do, they're going to get fired. So Joe Biden says, I'm not going anywhere, baby. Says, no one's pushing me out. What do you think? I'm leaving? Get out of here. Politico posted this one. Says, Biden reports, no one is pushing me out. He was on that call that Karine was asked about, and he said that he is vowing to stay in the race. Joe Biden unexpectedly joined a Zoom call with the DNC staff on Wednesday. Showed up there. Just hang on. They're like, President, the mic's off. He's talking. Your mic is off, Mr. President. Someone tell him your mic is off. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so Joe Biden comes back on, mounting a new push to preserve the viability of his embattled candidacy, according to two people on the call. Amid reports that Biden is privately acknowledging to allies that his candidacy is hanging in the balance, the president stated that he's in the race for the long haul. Here's what he said specifically. Let me say this as clearly as I possibly can, which was probably just, they're like, oh gosh, this is going to be terrible. As simply and straightforward as I can. I am running. No one's pushing me out. I'm not leaving. I'm in this race to the end, and we're going to win. Biden's forcefulness and resolve, especially compared to how he's been in the past few days, was reassuring to several attendees. Harris also said, we will not back down. We will follow our president's lead. We will fight and we will win. And so they promised to carry on. Then they sent out some emails, and ALX clipped this for us. You can see he posted this, saying that breaking, the Biden campaign and the Democratic Party have both sent out emails stating that Joe Biden is staying in the race and will be the nominee. Saying that this one just came in from the Democrats, 557. Here, Democrats, a short while ago, President Biden and Vice President Harris got on a campaign call and ended any speculation by the pundits about his future. He's staying in. He's the leader of the Democrats. And if we're with him, not only is he going to win, but we're going to elect Democrats up and down the ballot this fall. And so stick with us. That's from the Democrats. And also this one from Joe Biden. Says, Alex, I know the past few few days have been tough. I'm sure you're getting a lot of questions. I'm sure many of you have questions as well. And so let me say this as clearly and as simply as I can. I'm running. I'm the Democratic Party's nominee. No one is pushing me out. I'm not leaving. I'm in this race to the end. We are going to win this election. Well, we'll see. So they got their message in place. We'll see how long that lasts. But the governors came out and had a talk with the president and the media. And so here's a little bit of what that sounded like from them. Let's listen to Hochul and see what Hochul had to say from New York about Joe's competency. And we'll get that queued up right now from Hochul.
That force being Donald Trump. And together, we'll make sure that Americans know not just what Joe Biden did for all of us, and the list of what he did for my state of New York is extraordinarily long, but where he's going for the future and where he's going to take this country. We feel very confident in his abilities. We talked about the plan and how he's going to be very focused on issues that matter to Americans, and I felt very confident coming out of this meeting as well.
Do you think he's fit for office?
Yes, fit for office. The president has. 3.5 years of delivering for us, going through what we've all been through. None of us are denying. Thursday night was a bad performance. It was a bad hit, if you will, on that, but it doesn't impact what I believe. He's delivering.
What would you say to people in your own party? What would you say to people in your own party who say the game is up, enough's enough?
No, I always say this. In November, we've got a clear choice. The president was very clear that he is in this to win this. And the president is our nominee. The president is our party leader. And the president has told us, and he was very clear back there, that he is in this to win this. And so for people, I would say, and listen, we're governors. We don't do hand-wringing. That's not what we do. Governors work and get things done.
Okay.
Governors say, tell me the objective, and we're going to make sure that we accomplish the objective. And so for people who are concerned, I just want to be very clear on something. And come November, we've got a binary choice. And the binary choice is between someone who has continually delivered for us and our states and the people of our states, and frankly, someone whose vision for the future of this country is downright dangerous.
All right, so they're going to rant about Trump now, keep turning it back onto him, and they think that they're going to paper over this thing with just another interview. And maybe this interview will be amazing, but they've got another debate coming up as well. And so Joe Biden is only getting worse by the day. Representative Dingell, who's a Democrat from Michigan, where Joe Biden must win, is now hitting the panic button saying, yeah, it's not going to cut it just to have one Stephanopolous interview. We're going to need more than that.
And he does not have a lot of time. He's got to, I've said this, he's got to show all the country, the American people. He's got to talk to the American people. By the way, I have respect about the donor class. The donor class I want to see him talk to the American people, the working men and women of this country, and tell them why he can do the job and what he's going to deliver, and that he's got the stamina to do it.
Though.
And I got in trouble for saying one news interview isn't going to do it. It's not. It's sustained.
All right. Now, here is Senator Kennedy, who is hammering the Biden camp and Karine, explaining what a disaster this whole charade has been.
Well, I listened to the president's press secretary. I've heard better answers on the dating game. She's blamed the president's performance on, jet lag, a cold, staff. They've blamed it on everything but murder hornets. Look, I watched the debate like everybody else. I thought President Trump's performance was one of his best. I thought, obviously, President Biden's performance was a multiple vehicle pileup. I don't know if President Biden will quit. I wouldn't bet my house on it. And if I were betting your house, it would be a maybe. I do know this. President Biden is deeply unpopular, and I don't hate anybody, but fair or not, the American people believe that President Biden is older than the Adirondack Mountains. They think that he's worse than he used to be, and frankly, he wasn't great then.
And getting worse
they
by
think
the day.
that he talks like he's from outer space.
Senator, I got to wrap you. I'm so sorry. We got to hit a hard break. We thank you for your thoughts, and you brought up a really great point. The age question is something we've been talking about in Washington a lot lately with Senator Dianne Feinstein, with Leader Mitch McConnell, and it's a question that Americans are looking to us and wanting to know. Why do we have to keep having this discussion with politicians? Senator, we'll have you back on. Thank you.
All right, so that's Kennedy. And yeah, Joe Biden's older than the Adirondacks in the mountains over there on the east coast of the United States. All right, so that's Senator Kennedy. So we're going to be here continuing to cover it, my friends. Wherever it is you're watching us, we'd love it if you subscribed. Thank you so much for inviting someone you know or love out there to come over and check our channel out so they can join us together as we go through this madness. We'll look forward to seeing you back here and on our next segment where we're talking about Joe Biden's new threats against the media, saying, how dare you cover me negatively? Do you want to go to jail? That video is coming up next. We'll look forward to seeing you over there and back here on the next one.